You know, sometimes if you have an LLC and you are looking for funding, business funding, that is, you have options to think about business loans, business equipment financing. But a lot of things that people don't think about is the business line of credit. In today's conversation, I want to share with you the few hacks that we have uncovered lately when it comes to actually getting an LLC business line of credit real fast, easy, no revenue, low revenue. They'll take care of you. And this is fresh out of the oven. That those are hacks that we have seen our own business clients apply in the last few weeks and months, and those hacks are working like crazy. So I want to share them with you in today's conversation. So here's the approach I really want you to think about. So if you want to get an LLC business line of credit with fast and easy approval today, the first thing I want you to do here is to actually ask yourself whether or not you have some kind of, let's say, assets. If you have, let's say, property, plant and equipment, if you have some piece of machinery, if you have something, like the thing is, if you have something, if you have a piece of, if you have an asset, it's just a lot better to think about collateralizing the business line of credit. Okay. Well, that means that when you go to a bank, for example, or you go to a credit union, or you go to an online lender such as Bluevine, you are basically saying, listen, I want a business line of credit for my LLC, but I'm willing to collateralize it. You know why? Because that piece of equipment is sitting there not doing anything anyway. So why not just use it to collateralize the business line of credit? So if you're able to, at least you can put the asset to good use. And again, it can be anything though. It has to be a long-term asset though. It cannot be a short-term asset. If you're trying to collateralize an LLC business line of credit, use a long-term asset. So something that has value over 1 year. It can be a property, it can be plant, it can be equipment, it can be anything. It can be it can be anything. So you got to ask yourself, if you have, let's say, this asset and you want to collateralize the line of credit, that's fine. But remember that you always have the option to also go for an LLC unsecured business line of credit. Okay, so you have those two options. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. In today's conversation, I'm just sharing with you some of the hacks and tips that we have actually uncovered in the last few months that are working like crazy, really effective. So you have to, the first thing, you think about whether or not you have some collateral to pledge for the business line of credit for your LLC or not. So if you can pledge something, you have a larger limits, a larger line of credit. If you don't have, if you do not want to collateralize the line of credit, you can still get something, but not as high as if you were to collateralize it. Next thing I want you to do here is to really think about the requirements. So when we talk about it's important to sit down and ask yourself, I need an LLC business line of credit. Okay, where do I get it? Like, where am I more likely to get that line of credit? So you have four options. You have online lenders. So when you think about online lenders, you think about Bluevine, you think about On Deck Capital, you think about SmartBit, you think about a lot of players in that field. So we're talking about lenders that have no like brick and mortar branches. You don't have to walk into a branch and sit down with a rep or whatever. No. Everything happens online or over the phone with those lenders. So that's number one. You also need to think about the second category of lenders. Here you have traditional banks and credit unions. So those are your Chase of the world, your PNC, your Truist, whatever. So you got to also think about those. So this is the second category. You got to think about the third one. Now, the third one is you have those alternative lenders. So you have lenders like Balboa Capital. You have lenders such as you have, for instance, there are other players. You have Kalamata Group. Yeah. So those are lenders that sometimes they actually like to operate in a niche or in a certain geography. So depending on where your LLC is located in the country, if your LLC is in Georgia, you might have to face a different set of lenders, alternative lenders, than if your LLC is, say, based in California or New York. It really depends on, or Alabama for that matter. It depends on the type of geography we're talking about, or the kind of niche. And you also have another category of lenders. You have those, what we call those business loan marketplaces. So you have the lender of the world. You have the NBC, the National Business Capital. So those are players that really do not lend you directly, but they will actually help you get the loan. They will dispatch your one-page loan application to lenders who are in their network. So the point I'm trying to say here is what? when you find the lender that you want to get to, you need to research those lenders' requirements. Different lenders have different requirements for an LLC business line of credit with fast and easy approval. So the third thing I want you to do here is that I want you to sit down and really go back to your closet, so to speak, to your company's closet, to your LLC's closet, and really find out all the information that you need to sort of show that your LLC is legit. The bottom line here is that your LLC must be legit, boss. If you're trying to get an LLC business line of credit with fast and easy approval today, you gotta have this sort of this. How do I say it? You gotta have this documentation. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you once again of today's topic. We're having a conversation about how to get an LLC business line of credit with fast approval. Okay, and so when we talk about the required documentation, it really depends on the lender. Some lenders are more conservative. Some lenders love to have a granularity. They love to have detailed. So they will ask you for a gazillion documents. And some lenders are kind of fine. Like they're fine with whatever you give them. At least you got to give them a minimum though. So things like business licenses and permits. Like your LLC must be legit, right? They want to see articles of organization. They want to see certificate of good standing. They want to see, for example, from you, like let's see the operating agreement. So your LLC operating agreement. They want to see also your personal and business bank statements. So to make sure that you are, you are not like you kind of comply with the rules and regulations. And so that's one or two. The lender, if you want to get an LLC business line of credit real fast, you will need to provide two extra things. You need to provide your personal and business bank business tax returns. So here we're speaking about if we speak about your business tax returns, we're speaking about your 1065 and with all the accompanying schedules of K1. So if you are a single member LLC, you actually are fine because you don't have to provide a 1065. You've never filed a 1065 in the first place, because if you are a single member LLC, you are basically filing your 1040, but you are adding the business revenue and the business expenses data on your Schedule C. So we're talking about what? We're talking about your business and personal tax returns in addition to your business plan. So your business plan can be as comprehensive as like 50 pages for your LLC, or it can be, very short too. So it really depends on what you are trying to convey to the LLC lender. This is really important. Also, the business plan and the financial statement, the financial statements. The next thing I want you to do here is to select a lender. So basically what you have to do here is that, I've told you before that you have several categories of lenders, right? So basically, if you're looking for an LLC business line of credit with fast and easy approval, and boss, I'm just sharing with you the latest hacks. I mean, those are the freshest hacks we have uncovered after talking to our own business clients, after doing research in the industry. We're seeing that things are changing, in this economy. Like, banks are closing here and there. The prices are going up. Gas prices don't even get me started on that. You have also so you have a lot of things. And so if you're in the industry, if your LLC needs some cash and you need to have access to a business line of credit, I'm sharing with you the hacks that will work. So you have to select a lender that works for you. See, when we talk about selecting lenders, you just don't wake up, brush your teeth, and say, you know what, I'm going to select a lender. No, there is a lot of analysis that gets into this activity. There's a lot of thoughtfulness. There's a lot of granularity, right? So you have to look at things like maximum credit limits. What are the maximum credit limits? What are the minimum credit limits? How much do I need? See, boss, that's what I want you to think about. How much do I need? How much do I need for what? It's not just about, I need this $100,000 for my LLC business line of credit. Okay, you get the cash. What are you going to use the cash for? Boss, talk to me about that. Let's have a conversation about that. There's nothing to hide here. Talk to me about what you're going to use the cash for. Are you going to use the cash to buy LLC, to buy inventory for your LLC? Do you need cash to make payroll for your LLC? Is your LLC struggling right now? Okay, so when you need the LLC business line of credit, what are you going to use it primarily for? Because the use of loan proceeds or the use of line proceeds it's something quintessential, the lender will be interested in knowing. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Don't think you can play that game or say, I'm not disclosing anything. No, because for regulations, for compliance, there's something called KYC, know your customer. The lender is supposed to know what you're going to use the money for. Okay. Also, think about when you think about selecting a lender, think about repayment plans. What are they offer? What is the lender offering you? What are the requirements? What are the associated fees? Think about those, boss. Think about the special features. I want to quickly remind you of today's topic, and we're talking about how to get an LLC business line of credit with fast approval, easy approval today, no matter what. See, no matter what, that's the key word. No matter what. It means what? It means that, you have bad credit, no problem. You need to think about the formula for success. That's what you need to think about. Okay. So what you want to do here is that, you need to apply, because the thing is, when we talk about applying for an LLC business line of credit, systematically and reflexively, I want you to think about actually, think about pre-qualifying. Don't qualify right away. Do not apply right away. You want to have systems whereby you can see how much you could qualify for before you commit. And there are two ways of playing this game. You can actually do the LLC business line of credit with EIN only, or with your social. So option A with your EIN only, option B with your social. This is important because it helps you understand what really matters in terms of your ability to get how much you can get also, because it's not about just getting approved for an LLC business line of credit, but you also need to know that you can be approved for a large amount no matter what, right? So when we talk about applying, seek pre-qualification first. So you can maybe preserve your FICO score on the personal side, or preserve your PayDex, your PayDex score, and your Intel score, okay, your Experian Intel score, and your Equifax score also. Even though on the business side, a hard pull is not going to ding your credit score, okay. But bottom line here is that when we talk about applying for a business line of credit for your LLC, you have to really have a plan. And if you choose to apply for an LLC business line of credit at your bank, for example, it's just a lot better to do this at the branch. Do not apply for LLC business lines of credit over the phone or online, because the line amounts you could qualify for are limited, because you don't have a human. I mean, because a lot of banks nowadays, a lot of lenders for that matter, not just banks but credit unions, but also all other lenders, they do have algorithms. They have algorithmic equations that are set in place to set the initial line of credit limits that you could get, and you don't want to entrust your LLC's liquidity future to an algorithm, do you? So it's just a lot better to speak to a live person and explain everything before committing. That way you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So when we talk about LLC's business lines of credit with easy and fast approval, you have to be aware that sometimes those LLC business lines of credit, they do come with some fees. You got to be really clear about the fees and cost, and ask yourself, is my LLC willing to absorb those fees? Is my LLC able to absorb those fees? And one thing I want to say here is that those fees are associated with you receiving the money first. Don't let no lender dazzle you, trying to lie the hell out of you, try to lie to your face and say, listen, yeah, we will charge you, like you have to pay this fees before we process your line of credit application. No. You pay the fees after they approve you, and they take the money out of the approval amount. For example, the draw fees, the payment processing fees, the wire transfer fees, the late fees, the prepayment penalties. Those are fees that are associated with you having already the money in your business bank account, then your LLC business bank account. So you can use the cash. You can use the cash for everything that you need to actually grow your business, to grow your LLC. And just make sure that the fees are actually worth it, because some fees are so crazy. Like you're like, wow, is this lender trying to make money off of me by giving me because what will happen here is sometimes what they do is they give you a tiny ass LLC business line of credit limits, like 5,000 or 10,000 for your LLC, and then they charge you like $300 fees. That's kind of crazy. You're talking about like what, nearly 8% or 7%. That's really crazy. So you don't want that. So you want a lender who approves you for a large LLC business line of credit, let's say 50 grand, $100,000, and then they charge you a fee that is commensurate, that is proportional to it could be 1%, it could be 0.5%, it could be anything, but at least you know you got the money already, and you can use the money to develop your LLC, to expand your LLC, and to actually have a diverse set of business funding programs that in the end is going to help you actually your payday score move even higher. So one thing I want to say here is that when we talk about LLC business line of credit, the bottom line here is that you have to think about timing. So don't apply for an LLC business line of credit like whenever you feel like it. No, you want to think about the time, but you need to do it at least once a year. If you don't have it, like right now, if you're listening to me and you're sitting there, you don't have an LLC business line of credit, you need to have one. And the cool thing about an LLC business, like the cool thing about this business line of credit is that you don't need to pay interest. If you don't use any funds that are associated with that business line of credit, your LLC is not going to incur fees or interest rate charges for that matter. No, the cool thing is the money's sitting there. And because even though you have an LLC business credit card, there are instances where you cannot use a credit card to make purchases. You cannot use a credit card to pay vendors. There are some instances where you cannot use just credit products to pay for stuff. People want you to pay for stuff with your own money. Okay, and so if you don't have the cash in your business checking accounts, having a business line of credit for your LLC is better because it's kind of similar to money. I mean, obviously, the bank already approved you for the bank or credit union or lender for that matter already approved you for a certain limits. So you know the cash is sitting there, and when you need it, you can just activate the whole process and get access to your cash. And also, when we talk about you actually getting an LLC business line of credit with fast and easy approval, think about the amount. So the first thing is think about the timing. Number two, think about the amount you want to borrow. So if you say you want to borrow $100,000, the question is, do you need that much to run your LLC? If yes, okay, would you have the ability? Would you have the wherewithal, the means to pay back whatever you charge on the card? Because see, your LLC is still running as a business. It has expenses, it has goals, it has revenue generation goals, and there will be moments when you will feel like, wow, I just need to have a decent amount of cash that I can tap into if need be. So that's why you want to make sure that your LLC has the proper means to repay whatever charges on the card. And the third thing I want you to do here is if you want to get an LLC business line of credit real fast, make sure that you actually get closer to the right institution. And even though banks and credit unions are sort of conservative when it comes to business funding in general, make sure that you have at least one of those. You want to have an account, a business account, one of either at a traditional bank or at a credit union, at a reputable credit union, because you're going to need their services at one point in the future. So you might as well just start now where you are building a relationship that you can parlay into something even bigger in the long run. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about how to get an LLC business line of credit with fast and easy approval. So I gave you the approach and then now the recap. Thank you. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.